Hey guys, what I've got here is my Dell Alienware M15 gaming laptop. The fourth revision of this is actually coming out this year, but this is the original M15. And for each of the versions, you'll see very many different variations of it with the CPU, with the screen, with the memory. Dell allowed you to pick pretty much all the components as far as the specs go. Obviously, the chassis and different things were the same. So I've had this for about 14 months, and my initial plan was to use this when out and about, and it would allow me to do video editing, videos for YouTube, etc., and gaming. This is a gaming laptop, and the first 2 months or so, that's exactly how I used this, and I really did love this. But the pandemic kicked in. I've spent most of the year at home, and for the most part, this has gathered dust. So I've decided to sell it, something I probably should have done about a year ago, but I've decided to sell it, and it will sell this weekend on the eBay. So I thought I would do a video about this before I send it off, and I'd like to talk about my experience more than anything else. My experience of using this. I have talked about specs and performance in the past, so I don't want to, bog you down too much on that. But just you can see it here just now as far as some of its features, as far as its backlit RGB keyboard, full size keyboard at that with the number pad at the side, and I've got a 4K screen at 60 hertz. Now there were 1080p 144 variations of this. There was 1080p 60. There was 4K with different variations as well. But I chose the 4K IPS screen, and it's amazing. For me, it was the best kind of happy medium because it allowed me to do video editing at 4K, but it also allowed me to plug into a monitor, and then I could, get anything you want. And I was getting I think about 144 frames per second, full 144 frames per second at lower settings for Call of Duty and different things. So it worked out perfect for me. So I'll close this down just now and we can have a look at the chassis, etc. Before I do that, I want to jump over to my browser and just have a quick look at this. So this is, as you can see, product unavailable. It was sold, I think it was about 2 years ago this was out initially, and it was really getting pushed in. You can see that even just by looking at the variations here of the 9750H, etc. i9 9980HK CPU, that's an octa-core, right up to the i9 10900K. So, this was getting, so that's the second variation, but by the way, this is the first one here. Right until the end, though, you can see that Dell were selling the first, second, and third variation of this, So it's only recently they've kind of pulled the earlier versions. But there's, lots of amazing features. The speakers on it are really good. Keyboard's okay, but I'll talk about that. Battery life, it's not good, obviously. It's not good. So, yeah, lots of different variations. But I'll talk about specs and all that in a second. But you can see here the weight, 2.16 kilograms. So I'll leave a link to that page so you can kind of, find out more about it. But I'll talk about it here as well. So this is it. This is a little RGB Alienware logo, which syncs with the other one and the keyboard, etc. Kind of pointless. I'm not a big fan of that, but it is what it is, and it's what these gaming companies think that people want. So size-wise, this is a 15.4-inch gaming laptop. It weighs over 2 kilograms, 2.16 kilograms. It's obviously big. It's obviously heavy, but for what this offers, it's actually not too bad. So this is my Dell XPS 13. Gives you a comparison with a 13-inch laptop. This is the one I mostly use for writing and my website stuff. I just use a smaller laptop. It's easier to throw in a bag and different things. But this wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. It is quite heavy, but 15.4-inch laptops generally weigh this much, especially when you consider what's inside this. This has got an 8750H CPU. Runs really hot, that CPU, but it's in there. It's got a 2080 Max-Q graphics card. Yes, inside this is a 2080 graphics card. Pretty impressive. It came with half a terabyte of storage, 512 SSD. It's an NVMe drive as well. It's got 32 gigabytes of memory at 2666 megahertz. And I upgraded that and I changed it to HyperX memory. So I upgraded the memory just to lower the latency. And I made a few other changes, which we'll talk about in a second. So the back here, you can see a number of different things. You've got, if I see here, HDMI, there's a mini display port, there's Thunderbolt 3, you've got your power here, and this is actually the Alienware amplifier port. So this allowed you to connect an external eGPU, but it was one that was unique to Dell. You couldn't use it with any other computer. It was unique to Dell devices. Now, with regards to power, this is a hungry fella. No surprise. It's got an 8750H. It's got a 2080. So this has got a 180 watt brick. And that's a lot. I mean, my Dell laptop is 45 watts, to put it in perspective. So yeah, 180 watts. It's a big beast. This is a big beast as well. And, you know, big long cable and all that, and the power supply, it's all good. But I did find that this has bent. You know, it's kind of frayed away there. I guess that's common with power supplies. So looking around the side again, we've got air vents here, and we've got two USB 3.0. Going around here, we've got gigabit Ethernet here. I believe that's a Kensington lock. You've got another USB 3.0, and you've got a headphone jack. So if you count the Thunderbolt 3 in the back, you've got 3 USB and 1 Thunderbolt. So there's enough ports there for most people. You've got your HDMI there as well. And you know, check the website for that as far as exact specifications. But that's HDMI 2.0. That's mini display 1.3, etc. And that's Thunderbolt 3. So looking at the chassis, well, you should be able to see. In fact, you maybe see it better if I hold it up, but there's a little scratch there. Now, that's something that is extremely recent. I'm talking weeks that happened. I'm not even sure what happened. I was probably just leaning it against something in my office. And I've got so many cameras and so many different things about here that, yes, I've scratched it. A little bit annoying, but, you know, I guess the most important thing is to protect the screen. So, yeah. So, let's talk about the back of the laptop. So, this is the back of the laptop, and you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, and then another 3 screws. So, what we've got here, 9 screws in the back there, but there's another 2 there as well, which you need to remove the back. Now, if you're a subscriber to my channel, you might recall a year or so ago, I did some upgrades to this at the time. And it's very easy to get this open up and make those upgrades. First thing I did was I upgraded the wireless card. I put in a Wi-Fi 6 module just to improve Bluetooth and Wi-Fi speeds. It was a kind of slight upgrade, but, you know, it was only £10 for the module, so I thought I would do it. I also installed a 2.5-inch drive. So this has got 2 NVMe, 2 M2 SSD slots. So I had 2 SSDs in there, but I also had a 2.5-inch drive. Now, the 2.5-inch chassis doesn't actually come with this. I had to pay another £35 to Dell to get that. And that allowed me to have 2 SSDs and 1 2.5-inch drive. Now, recently, I ripped all of those drives out for my new PC because I knew I was going to sell it, but this laptop does have that. So the other thing I did was a repaste. So I upgraded the memory as well. I did point that out earlier, but I upgraded the memory. That was something else I did. But I also did a CPU repaste. So that involved taking off, you know, the fans and different things, and then putting on my own thermal paste, which was something that I wanted to do because, you know, for the most part, most gaming laptops, the thermal paste is okay, but over time, you know, they say that you should repaste every 2 years or so. So I did do a repaste at the time. I did loads of benchmarks to see what it was like before and after, and the scores were slightly better. It wasn't night and day, but I did see a slight performance. But the big thing that I did see was a reduction in heat and noise. And that's one of the problems of this gaming laptop, and one of the problems of most gaming laptops, I would say, is heat and noise. And you can see here, there are some vents at the side here, but a lot of the vents are at the side here, at the bottom here. So if I can get this, I wasn't prepared for this, but this is at the side. So this is the stand that I use, the kind of portable neck stand. And this, if I can get open. So this just opens up like this, right? So this allowed me to put the gaming laptop on the stand, put it into a better viewing position, but more importantly, it allowed me to get these vents off of the table, and it made a huge difference to noise, to thermals, to everything. Really, it just made it a better laptop to use. Now, I always set out to buy a laptop cooling pad, you know, the ones with the cooling fans, etc. I didn't get around to doing it. I probably should have to try it out, but it's something I'll probably get in the future for another laptop. But yes, the way this is designed, you know, it pushes air down and there's nowhere for the air to go. It's quite a bad design, really. I'm surprised they went this way. I think they've addressed it in future versions. So yes, I did make a few upgrades to this laptop to make it a better laptop to use and to add more storage, faster memory, etc. And it's fairly easy to do. You know, it didn't void the warranty or anything like that. I actually checked that with Dell before I repasted the CPU, and the guy said it's okay. Just said as long as you know that if you mess up, it's your fault. But yeah, that was fine. No problems there. It was very easy to do. Just make sure you get the right screwdriver, of course. And when you're working in the internals, disconnect the battery. Disconnect the battery, make sure there's nothing wrong going on there. So what I'd like to do now is get plugged in. And I'll get plugged in because battery life is okay in this, right? It is okay, but it's a gaming laptop. So for the most part, if I was doing anything more than just checking a quick email, I was plugging this in and I was giving it power. Don't listen to their quoted battery times. If you're gaming with this, if you're doing a lot of gaming, I mean, my best guess is you'll get 2 hours before it dies at, you know, at most, depending on, you know, your existing battery and how long you've used it, etc. Battery life isn't great. And from a performance point of view, anyway, it's just better keeping this plugged in. You know, give it the juice that it wants. 180 watts is coming from this. And you can imagine how quickly that drains from a lithium ion battery. Now you get there's a 90 kilowatt hour battery you can get. On the back here, a long battery goes across, but I didn't get that version. I had the 60 watt version, which to me was better because it allowed me to have that space for the 2.5 inch drive. But there is a version that's got a longer battery. Maybe that's better for some of you. And bear in mind as well, I've got the version with the 4K screen. 4K, yes, you can imagine it's a big battery drain when compared to the 1080p versions that were out there. So 4K, the smaller battery, for me, it made more sense to be plugged in. So I'll get this plugged in and we'll open it up and we'll have a closer look at what this was all about. So as you can see, I am connected, I am plugged in, and I've decided not to go Bluetooth here. I've got an old school mouse connected with one of the USB ports. I've got my Xbox controller connected there as well. And at the back, using the Thunderbolt 3 port, I've actually got the old hard drive, which used to be in here. This is the old M2 NVMe, the old Samsung Evo. And I realized that's where the games are still installed. That's where I had games installed. So I'm going to do like more of an acoustic test and a performance test, but the game's on that, so I've connected that up as well. And you can see the power cable at the back there as well. I could obviously test gigabit and all that as well, but let's not. Okay, so before I show you the screen, etc., I just want to talk about this area. One of the big things to note, in fact, if I get the right mouse, the big thing to note here is this speaker at the top. Now, I'm not going to pull out my noise meter just now, but if you... Speakers are one of the best selling features of this. And this is the thing, guys, you know, I'm all for smaller laptops. I am all for smaller laptops, but generally speaking, you know, they throw in tinny speakers or dual speakers instead of really good stereo speakers. These speakers are excellent. They're more than good enough for watching videos, for playing games. They're just really good speakers. So audio-wise, very, very good here. Not a huge fan of the Alienware logo being plastered about it. It's like you've got a laptop that's designed for a 10-year-old, but it's part of their brand. It's there, I guess. Same with the RGB keyboard. It's okay. I quite like it. It's, you know, I wouldn't mind me if it was just blue or white. It's flashing colors. You can change all that in the area anyway if you want, but I've just kind of synced them up. So the keyboard is something which, you know, is important. Even for a gaming laptop, it's important, especially for someone like myself. You know, I don't just play games. I edit videos, I write articles, and I've wrote tens of thousands of words on this because this was the laptop that I had at the time. And this is the, whoops, see, a few mistypes there. So this is a reminder of what my major problem with this is. So what I would say is the chiclet style keyboard here is good. It's good. But instead of having a full size kind of keyboard here, what they've done is crammed in a number pad, which I realized is good in many games and different things. But what it means is this keyboard is basically the same size as the keyboard in my Dell XPS. I mean, it's borderline identical. In fact, if I get this open, I can show you that. So this is a keyboard for my 13-inch laptop, and you can see the size of the keys, and then look at it there. So you're basically typing on a keyboard that's for a 12 or 13-inch laptop here. That's kind of what's going on because of squeezing in this number pad. I don't think that was the right move. I think they should have threw in like a $10 number pad accessory that you plug in with USB. I really don't think that was necessary, and I've kind of sacrificed the laptop here a little bit to squeeze it in. It is useful though. I'm not going to say it's not useful. There are times when you're doing calculations, whatever, that's useful. But what it meant was this keyboard is a lot smaller than it needs to be, and you can't see it there. But I'm typing away here, and this is a laptop for me. I'll get it right here. I am typing on this laptop. So basically, what I found with this was I mistyped with this every so often. And the reason is, again, the number pad. Because the number pad's here, this part of the keyboard isn't really centered. So you find that instead of like, your natural typing position would be about here, but you kind of need to shift your hands to like here a little bit. It's not by much. It's about 1 key's worth, but it's enough that when you're naturally used to typing on other laptops, you've got this kind of natural, laptop typing position. And I just find you're kind of squeezed over to the left here a little bit. It's a little bit annoying. It means you have to kind of go over to the left. It's not great. It wasn't a major problem for me because I generally brought this when I was video editing or I wanted to game. It wasn't for writing. Writing was probably the third thing that I did with this, whereas with my smaller laptop, that's the main thing I do. But as someone who does have a blog, does have many websites, does send a lot of emails, this is a keyboard that does frustrate you. There's no way getting around it. And it's not the keys. The keys are fine. The chiclet style keys are great. It's really just the fact that they've squashed it all into this little area and it's just off kilter. So kind of downside. Now you can see I've got a mouse connected. Nothing against the trackpad at all. I've said this for many years. I just generally don't like using trackpads because I find that, again, as someone who types a lot, my hand brushes against it, the cursor goes flying. So many years ago, I started using mice with laptops, and I've never stopped. I just prefer using mice. I know a lot of other people are different. So as far as me commenting on this, maybe I'm not the best guy to ask. I think it's okay. Certainly fine, and it seems pretty much similar to other trackpads that I've used. I know this is something that a lot of reviewers look at and they compare different Apple trackpads and different things. I never, thought this was great, but clearly looking at it, you can see the trackpad here is smaller than one you'd get in a MacBook Pro, for example, but it's okay. For me, it's okay. If you're just kind of, browsing the web and things like that, I'm sure you'll find it's okay. But yes, I'm a mouse guy when it comes to using a computer. So that's that kind of out the way. What I can do is, can I do it? Yes, I can. Can we build it? Yes, we can. So you can see what I was actually typing there. You can see I kind of messed up at the end there with the typing, but that's, again, illustrates the point that I had. Right, so you maybe can't see that just now, but one thing to note is this goes all the way down nearly to 180 degrees. It's probably about, my guess is 150 degrees or something like that just now. It's fairly, it can be extended quite a lot. And that's something that I have found in other laptops in the past where you try to extend it and you get to like here, just past the right angle and it stops. But this is actually quite flexible. And yeah, seems quite good. So what I'm going to do is show you the task manager. So this is a task manager that we all know and love. And the reason I'm showing you this is really just to show you what's going on. You can see I've got an 8750H CPU. It's a hexa-core, so 6 cores, 12 threads. We've got 32 gigabytes of memory. Like I said, it kind of maxes out 2667. Disk is 512. It's an NVMe. Fairly quick. It's about 1500 megabytes per second or so. I was going to say there's no second drive, but there is. That's the one that's connected via Thunderbolt 3 there, the Samsung 960 EVO. This is the Wi-Fi 6 AX200 module. So this isn't the module that came with mine. Maybe it came with later versions of this, but the one that I had an older version. I think it was Wi-Fi 5. But regardless, I upgraded it. It was a slight upgrade. I didn't notice massive jumps in performance. It was it was a performance jump, but not by much. But it was a cheap upgrade, so it was worth doing. Integrated graphics, UHD graphics 630, and then of course the RTX 2080 with Max Q. So yes, this has a 2080, and it's only now that we're starting to see laptops coming out that do have 30 series cards. This is still a beast. It still is a beast. Now, here's the thing. Everyone thinks with a gaming laptop that the graphics card, it's got a graphics card that's going to send the fans crazy. Actually, the graphics card doesn't run that loud. For what you get, it's not, it's loud, but it's not that loud. What is loud is the CPU. This CPU gets so hot. It's just a problem with this CPU in general. But bear in mind, other laptops had this problem. And if you check reviews of the Alienware M15, you actually find that this actually performed better. This 8750H in this M15 actually performed better than some i9s. I can't remember which model, for example, but I remember this was performing just about the same as an i9 on an Apple MacBook, because the Apple MacBook throttled the i9 so much. This is not being throttled. It's a bigger chassis, but it does run loud. It does run hot. It is what it is. It's the problem with this CPU. And it's one of the major complaints that people have of this laptop in general. If you see any reviews of the M15, you'll see people saying, damn it, it runs too hot, the fans are too loud. And again, that goes back to what I was saying with the fans being underneath. But yes, that is 100% true. Now, there are ways around it. I've installed... No, that's not right one. Have I got it here? Oh, it's been a while since I've checked this. No. Okay, so I've got fan software installed somewhere that kind of, improves it a little bit. I tweaked some things in MSI Afterburner. I tried to anyway. I didn't notice a massive difference, if I'm honest. But what I want to show you is the Alienware Command Center. So, needs to download additional components. Yeah, let's download it and see what happens. So this is the Alienware Command Center. This is where you change the colors for your keyboard, where you change the logo, but it's also where you see your games. But the most important thing is that this is where you manage your thermals and you manage the default setting for fans and different things. Now, you can use other apps for that. Of course you can. There's other apps out there for Windows and different things that you can change things. It's not recognizing the games now because I've taken the drive out and then stuck it back in, but I used to have a game library there. You've got different themes, and then you've got Fusion here. So we'll see that in a second. This shows you what's going on. So we've got overclock, thermal balance. Right. So it's got a setting here that you can overclock it. You've got thermal balanced, and then you've got Alienware audio or audio Alienware, and then you've got power balanced. Now you can put it onto high performance mode. As you would expect, yes, you do get more frames per second. You do get a better gaming experience, but the fans will run louder. The reason being the CPU is getting pushed harder. So when you're in high performance mode, it does get loud. It does get loud, and there's no way of getting around it. And it's the same when you select this profile as well. So I've mostly been using quiet or balanced. Cool. Well, as you would expect, cool sends the fans crazy in order to keep the CPU cool. Thermal performance, well, again, you're running the fans hot here. And again, I'm not trying to criticize this laptop per se, but it is something, if you buy a laptop such as this, certainly this model, it's a fantastic laptop. And, the minor criticism there with the keyboard and stuff, this is extremely powerful. I mean, it's pretty much more powerful than my previous PC. And it's in a laptop that I can take anywhere with me. It's incredibly impressive, the amount of power that you've got here, and it's great for gaming and all that. But bear in mind, noise and thermals can be an issue. And I mean, this is it. Look at this here. I mean, I'm sitting here idle. If I show you the task manager here, the CPU, okay, the CPU is at 20% because this command center is open. But nothing else is really getting pushed at all. 25%. I would say that should be idle. Sitting there doing nothing, and you can see the temperature really up to 90 degrees here. That's insane, but it's normal for this. It is actually normal for this. So the other thing you'll notice here is voltage, and that's one of the ways that you can take the temperatures down here, take the noise down, is undervolt it. You want to undervolt, reduce the voltage. That's something that's really out with the scope of this video, but you can use things like MSI Afterburner and different apps to reduce the voltage. And essentially what you're trying to do is get the same performance by giving it less voltage, less power. And you'll see a lot of success with that, and it will bring temperatures and things like that down. So you kind of have to mess around with the settings to get it right. This is a non-issue if you set your laptop out the way and connect to a monitor and put your headphones on, but if you're close to it, you will notice it being hot, you will notice it being warm. And yeah, it runs hot. But it's a powerful CPU, it really is a powerful CPU. I mean, I can do 4K video editing on this and all that. So you've got the memory clock there, and we've got the GPU, and no surprises here. The GPU is at 0 now. I'm not doing anything because the screen is using integrated graphics right now. But of course, if I have to do anything, well, that's where the problems arise. So, I mean, I can talk about, voltage and power and thermals and all that all day long, but the easiest way to show you is to just actually put on a game. So I'm actually just going to leave that now. So I'm going to stick on Call of Duty, right? And again, I'm not trying to show you what this can do because obviously right now I'm limited to 4K at 60 frames per second because of the 60 hertz screen, but I can actually push it above 60 frames per second, but it'll improve latency, but I won't actually see it on the screen. So I can put on Warzone or something, and I'll just put on a demo or something. And again, the idea here is just to show you the noise, really. That's what I'm trying to show you. So let's load this up. So here is Call of Duty Warzone. Now, I'm not going to play the actual game here just to say because the screen is extremely low down so that you can see what's going on with the camera, and I'm also behind the microphone as well. So I'll jump into a practice game so that we don't have to worry about getting killed about 2 seconds into the game. So this is a good example of what this laptop can handle. It's a popular game, but this is also an extremely CPU heavy game. This will push this laptop more than other games will. And if I jump back here, well, we see that, I mean, look at that. The CPU is up to 42%, 50%, etc. It's above 50% just now, and I'm only at the menu. Now, how hard this pushes the laptop, how hard this game pushes it, will depend on the settings. And, well, the settings here, right now I've set it at 4K at 60. Now, this isn't how I would play this. I would normally play 1080p or 1440p with this. You have to maybe worry about screen tearing every so often with certain games, but you can enable VSync to reduce that if that's a problem. But I would normally play this with an external monitor, if I'm honest. I'd normally plug it in somewhere else. Just plug it into the monitor at my parents' house or my house or whatever. But yeah, so I've got it here at 4K just because I want to show you what it can do. It probably won't be able to do that, but I've got the frames per second up here anyway. Again, maybe not a great example of what this can do in a way because 4K 60 is a big ask of this. But what I want to show you here is thermals. As you saw there, that hungry CPU, that CPU requires a lot of power and uses up a lot of heat. That is about 50% to 60% right now. And right now I'm recording with filters on to remove background noise, etc. And you should still be able to hear that. Now, if I take off those filters, that's what you're going to hear. So that's the noise. That's the noise coming from the laptop. That's the noise coming from the laptop. Now, again, like I was saying earlier, if you raise this up, just the issue of putting this on a stand, and if you could put it on cooling pads or something, you'll easily drop this 5 or 6 degrees, which means that the fans don't have to go as hard. It really does make that much of a difference. It really does. So get it off the desk, put it on something, make sure that the air at the bottom's got somewhere to go. So let's maybe go backwards here, right? Let's go backwards. Let's start with 1080p, and I'm going to do custom frame limit. I'm just going to do unlimited, right? So we can see what this can do. So I'll get 1080p at 60, then we could do 1080p at 1440p, etc. Right? So Warzone, Battle Royale practice, right? Let's try this. So we're going to do training. And again, I'm not trying to show you me playing well with the game here or anything. It's more about checking the frames per second and just listening to the acoustic performance. It's quite hard for me to show you the acoustic performance properly without, making it horrible on your ears. But I should really press the button here. Okay, it's loading up now. So I've got the Xbox controller for this. You can, of course, use the keyboard. The WASD keys, they're not colored or anything like that. You can do that though. You can do that through the RGB keyboard if you wish. If you want, you can, change the colors here to suit whatever you're doing for typing, etc. Not something I've done. I've just kind of used a controller. But so this is a 4K screen, but right now I have it at 1080p. Now the frames per second here, you should be able to see that. That will steady once I actually land on the ground. It will land on the ground and then, I can see what's going on. Right, so we're going up to the, oh, here we go. Where's the circle? Is it crashed? What is going on here? And yes, the game did crash. And this is probably the issue here. You can see the CPU there was up really, really high and it spiked up. And this wasn't what I planned to do. I didn't plan for the game to crash there, but you can see that the CPU is at 100% there. It spiked up. That caused some problems. It was like a dev error that came up. Now, this isn't an issue with this laptop. This is 100% Warzone. And if you've ever played the game, you'll know that that is indeed true. So I am loading up again. My guess is that it crashed previously. One, because, Call of Duty Activision does crash a lot. But probably because there was an update for the other game there for Black Ops. And that's actually one of the weird quirks, I guess you could call it, of the Call of Duty games, is when they're running an update on Battle.net, the game will just crash because it needs to do that update. I think that's what spiked up to 100%. Yeah, and it seems to be loading okay now. So, we'll just jump down the initial building or whatever. So right now, you should be able to see this. I'm setting about 133 frames per second, but wait till we land to we see exactly where that is. So I'll jump down. Let me jump down. Need to wait. Come on. There we go. Right, so I generally play this game at 144 frames per second, 1440p. Now, right now, I'm playing this at 60 Hz, so there might be a little bit of tearing because I've got it unlimited. But you can see right now, I'm getting, what's that, 130 frames per second at 1080p. Not too bad. Now, it's worth noting, if you're playing Modern Warfare or Black Ops, if you're not in Warzone, it's not a massive Battle Royale game, you will get better frames per second. For example, when I get, like, say, 160 frames per second with my other PC in Call of Duty, I will get maybe 250 with Black Ops. So when I'm moving about, you can see the frames per second is dropping. I've got it unlimited and it's dropping down to like 110 or so on average. But what I'm going to do now, hopefully no one will come in and kill me. What I'm going to do now is we'll change it and we're going to go up to 2560 by 1600, right? So this is more of a widescreen kind of look here. But we're on essentially 1440p at this point, or higher than 1440p. And we're getting at 60 frames per second, we're getting 90. We're getting 90. Now, it's not amazing, at this kind of level. I would always play at 1080p. I'd rather get the frames per second rather than the resolution for a game like this. But in other games, it's different, if you're playing a racing game or something. So it looks like we're getting, about 80 to 90 to 100, 80 and 100 roughly for 1440p. So let's try it, guys. Let's try 4K. Now, I will point out the acoustics aren't really different. I'm pushing this because I've got it unlimited rather than, oh, that seems to have crashed it. Another error. So it crashed again. As you can see, there's an update. Nothing to do with 4K. So we're back in, and as you can see, I'm still at 4K at this point. And I'm going to drop down, I'm going to check the frames per second, but already you can see that they are lower. They're a lot lower, which is to be expected. It's 4 times as many pixels as 1080p, etc. And I'm in the gas already. That's a great start. So I'll land just to have a closer look at frames per second, etc. Try not to get into too many fights in just now. So I'm getting about 53, 50 frames per second. Now, that's actually nearly 60 at some points. Now, that's actually that's actually higher than what you'd probably see in a PlayStation, even at 1080p. You know, when I played Warzone on my PlayStation 4, I was lucky if I was getting 60 frames per second. It was just struggling. And this is handling 4K at about 50. Granted, I do have most of the settings low at this point, but what I would do in a game like this, though, is I would go for 1080p with a higher frames per second. Now, again, I am limited here with 60 frames per second, and if you're primarily buying this for games, you'd really want to go for one of the higher refresh rate screens that Dell sold with their gaming laptops, 144, and they're starting to roll out 240 hertz screens as well. But like I said, I was looking for one that can also do video editing, hence 4K. But with a game that wasn't, requiring as many resources, this would look amazing with 4K. It's maybe looking a little bit washed out now because the screen's a little bit reflective with the screen, with the camera here. But to me, this looks amazing. Obviously, I'm right in front of it. Oops, someone's here. Maybe I'll get a kill after all. This is the easiest mode ever on practice. So yeah, like, I'm getting 110 frames per second consistently. I could actually get more if I use the main hard drive rather than plugging in an NVMe enclosure, which can overheat. I'd maybe get slightly better latency, slightly better speeds, but I'd maybe say better speeds just by plugging in an external monitor and switching off this monitor, because it means that the laptop doesn't have to power that 4K screen. So there's a lot of things you can do to increase the frames per second from your games, certainly when you've got an external monitor. But a game like this, just drop the settings down and someone shoot me there. Was I? I'm not even paying attention to this game. But yeah, it performs really well. Obviously, this was not the best example to use to show you, what this can do game-wise, because it's crashed so much, which is more to do with Battle.net and their update policy than anything else. I'm getting hit here. So yeah, Call of Duty was one of the games that I played mostly on this, and it was fantastic for it. Much better than a PlayStation. Much better. It's night and day. And yeah, it's fantastic. And the way I view this type of laptop with a 4K screen is, if you're doing kind of slower platforms, go for the higher resolution. It's a slow game. You don't need the higher frame rates. If you're doing racing, if you're doing a game like this, you want to maybe reduce the resolution a little bit to crank up the frames per second. But it depends on what screen you've got on the laptop, and it depends what external monitor you've got. If your external monitor is only 60 hertz, you might want to go for resolution over frame rates. But yes. So I'm getting shot. I'll kill one more. There you go. That'll do it. This has been gaming with the Alienware M15. So I've just closed the game down, but if I jump back to the command center, you might be able to see, I know it's going to ask me to download that again. You might be able to see here that the temperatures were quite high there. And, this is what, again, I've spoken about this already, but this is really what you need to do to get the most out of this laptop and any gaming laptop. You need to go in and adjust the fans. You need to go in and, choose your thermal profile, find the noise level that's, okay with you. But you can overclock this. You can get more power from this, but it does, generally require the fans to run faster and, 100%. It's going to create a lot of noise. So you have to find that balance for you in your setup. But there are things that you can do, like even just, picking this up, putting a cooling pad, undervolting. There's a lot of things that you can do to make this a more enjoyable laptop to use. And this is a gaming laptop. There's no way going around it. But like I said, I bought this with a 4K screen because I saw this as a versatile solution. I saw this as something that I could use for video editing, emailing, and gaming on the move. And yes, at 2 kilograms, it's not exactly the most portable, but it's not the heaviest either. There's rubbish laptops out there that weigh 2 kilograms. This is powerful. It does run hot, but when you're gaming or when you're video editing, you've got headphones on, it's kind of a non-issue. It's probably more of an issue for anyone else in the room than you, because you don't hear as much of that noise because you've got your headphones on. So if you've got a good pair of headphones, the noise issue becomes less of a factor. The keyboard's a little bit frustrating, like I said, but it's just the route they decided to go down. I am selling this it's mostly to do with the fact that, I've just not been using it. But I can recommend this. You just have to be aware of its faults, the smaller keyboard, the noise of the fans, etc. If you're willing to work around that and you're willing to work with the fans and get the thermal performance right, this is a really good laptop. It really is. And I've been happy with it. I've not been disappointed with it. And, from an upgrade point of view as well, it's quite a good laptop as well. And Dell's generally got quite a good policy on upgrades, certainly with gaming laptops where it doesn't void your warranty to open it up. Very easy to open it up, and then, you can change the hard drives, you can change the memory, you can change, like I did, the Wi-Fi module. You can do a CPU repaste as well, which might give you a little bit more performance and drop the temperatures a little bit as well. So there are some downsides here with the keyboard and different things, and I know I've said it many times, but for the most part, I have been happy with this, and I was aware of the negatives of this when I bought it. And that's something I think everyone needs to kind of bear in mind. When you're looking for more power and you're looking for a bigger graphics card and you're looking for a higher, higher number of cores in your CPU, when you cram it into a laptop instead of a big PC case, well, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much we can do. We are seeing a lot of advancements with ULV, the ultra low voltage CPUs. They're getting better and better. But if you want performance, it's going to be a big chunky laptop like this. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So yes, this has been the Dell Alienware M15 gaming laptop. It boasts an impressive 2080. It's got the 8750H, but I've been really happy with this. I really have been happy with this laptop over the last few years. I'm kind of sad to see it go in a way, but I needed to be honest with myself in the fact that I'm just not using it. So it's time to give it a new home. Time to go to a new family. So thanks for watching, guys. This hasn't been a proper YouTuber style review where I look at benchmarks throughout the whole video, etc., which I didn't see there was any point because this laptop has been out for a few years at this point. I really just wanted to talk about my experience with this gaming laptop specifically and my experience with using it. It's not perfect, but it's been a good performer for me over the last few years. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please stay tuned for more. If you get any questions, please do post them below. And until next time, take care.